Hello and good evening and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation, the podcast live, your daily Rangers news channel. And this is the podcast bringing you obviously your team daily. And today I am fortunate to be joined by Jack Hamilton from Every Other Saturday podcast here on YouTube as well. Jack, how are you tonight? How's everything going for you?
Yeah, I'm good. Glad to be on. Obviously, talk a bit about the game and what's to come in the next week. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, yes. Talk all things Rangers. Definitely, we've got a few people in the live chat already. So Rich Durant says, "Evening, boys. Hope you're good." Nicholas Moore, who's one of my mods, says, "Good evening, everyone from the South Wales Loyal." Nicholas, one of the top fans, and Victoria, who is obviously just hiding somewhere at work, says, "Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Wish I could be there today, but I have to work. Have a great podcast." Yeah, poor Victoria got called in to work. Now, obviously, guys, you all know Glasgow Rangers Nation. You've tuned in tonight, and we're channel has really done so well since we launched it. We're over 700 subs now. But Jack, just tell everyone who's watching now and everyone who picks up this podcast at a later date, tell everyone about Every Other Saturday and tell everyone where they can find you. Tell them everyone what you do. Just talk up your podcast. Go on, promote it.
Cheers. Me and my mate Lewis, we've been doing a podcast since the 55 season. Sort of started out in my motor and then slowly advanced into Zoom and stuff like that, and we've continued to do it over the years. Maybe not as consistent as it's been, but we try and get an episode out sort of every couple of weeks to refresh on everything again. We do videos in the summer a lot of time, talking about the squad tier lists and stuff like that. That's what we enjoy to do. We like to really go in detail to every single player in the squad. And you can find us on Twitter at everyLSatu1. Tweet over there all the time. That's probably where you can engage with us the most. And obviously our YouTube channel, Every Other Saturday Podcast. We should have another episode going out next week after the Aberdeen game. If you want to tune into that, albeit, and drop us a sub if you enjoy.
Absolutely, yeah. And here's for those of you who don't know, this is what it looks like. There's the header and the banner from obviously from Jack's podcast, Every Other Saturday podcast, and that's the one to go on. And as you can see there, you can find his Twitter and his Instagram there. So guys, head over there after this podcast, drop him a sub. Find him on Twitter, give him a follow, and obviously on Instagram as well, give him a follow. Obviously, you know, we like to, as Rangers podcast, we like to obviously all stick together, build up the viewership across the entire Rangers range. I mean, I was on Gallant Few on Sunday night, and that was very much their attitude. Obviously, they're a big developing Rangers podcast, but yeah, definitely go and give Jack's pod a sub. I've been watching some of the content over there. I also listen to it on Spotify as well. It's good content. Good content. So go and check it out, guys. Well, you know, Jack, we're heading into obviously towards the end of the season now. Obviously, a lot of people are saying there's only one meaningful game left this season. I think the first question, Jack, is there ever a meaningless game for Rangers, in your opinion?
I think that is probably. I don't think there is, to be quite fair to you. Could you look at the game, obviously, at the weekend? A lot of people were maybe looking at league games, me included. Rotation, maybe time to give players a chance. Obviously, we saw Leon King come on at the end of the game. We saw Rabbi Matondo obviously come on and get a nice assist. But for the whole, it was kind of similar. The starting 11, Fashion Sakala obviously came back in. John Lundstrom came back in to start as well. So I think I think Michael Beale's the kind of guy that every single game, regardless of what we're playing for, will obviously have the same attitude. I think a lot of the fans' blood's just kind of boiled this season. I think a lot of people just wanting the season to be done with. I think maybe that's the attitude towards it, but I don't think there's like a meaningless game. Obviously, you're going to Aberdeen on Sunday. You're never not going to want to go and win there. So I think it's just still one game as it goes, and obviously the semi-final is what we're all looking towards to see if we can finish season on a high. But I'm still looking forward to every game.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, the issue is obviously, you know, we had the St Mirren game Saturday, we've got the Aberdeen game Sunday coming up, and one of the things for me, Jack, is you've got to go into that semi with the most positive mindset, and the best way to get that positive mindset is good performances and victories. Even though, you know, realistically, yeah, it doesn't mean anything now. We're 12 points behind. The league has gone. We have to maintain that. And also, I think, you know, going towards the end of the season, even after the semi-final, hopefully, you know, you've got that, again, positive mindset building towards a cup final, fingers crossed, hopefully. But also for a lot of guys trying to prove themselves ready for next season. You know, I think that's a big thing. After the semi-final, Jack, do you think it's time that we kind of we concentrated just on the players that are going to be there next season, and some of those players that are going to be off at the end of the season, we don't actually use them. We use our own players. We see some of the youth lads like King, like Lowry, like Devine, like McCrory. Do you think that's something we need to see after the semi-final?
I think so. Obviously, depending on whatever way that goes, we could obviously be looking forward to a final, and it's all about keeping the squad fit and healthy going into that. Regardless, as you say, Morelos, Kent, even Ryan Jack out of contract at the end of the season. You don't know how many games these guys have got left to play. I think I would probably side with you on that point, where I would give players a chance. I really enjoyed Rabbi Matondo's performance at the weekend. It was really nice to see him come on and make an impact and get an assist. And I would like to see more of the players that are going to obviously continue into next season with us play more games. Obviously, Raskin and Cantwell have made such an impact that you just want to keep seeing more of them. But I think maybe some of the fringe players, some of the players that are on either long-term deals coming back for injury, i.e. Ridvan Yilmaz, who's not really had a look in, obviously been out injured again, not had much luck. I would like to see him more. John Suter obviously played the last couple of games, mistaken the old thumb game, but I think that defence needs to keep growing and growing, and I'd like to see him get more opportunities. And as for the youngsters as well, bring them on. Lowry's obviously been out of the squad for a while. I think he's been injured. Devine's obviously come in and done a really solid job when Beale first took over. Leon King's probably came in at a poor time in the squad because we were playing so badly, and obviously there wasn't any Goldson next to him. I'd like to see him maybe be a solid defensive partner. So I'm looking forward to seeing just the whole squad hopefully get a chance towards the end of the season.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, 100% agree with you. I think, hopefully, yeah, we will be preparing for that cup final. After that semi-final at the end of the month, and it's just, I think it's just so vitally important that not only for us to have some trophies at the end of the season, but also for the fact that we stop them from winning the treble. Because God will we never hear the end of it if they do manage to win the treble. We'll never shut them up. Just going back to that game on Saturday for a moment, to that St Mirren game, strange old game. What were your general thoughts, Jack, on the actual game itself?
I thought it was kind of similar to a Michael Beale home game, to be quite honest with you. Started off looking decent in the first opening 10 minutes. Got obviously missed the penalty, started off quite fast, and then the game sort of gets lost on us a wee bit in the middle of the game. Obviously, we then pushed for the breakthrough. We were much in control, and obviously we get that opener. I thought it was a really good opener as well. I think all the front six players were involved in it. Cantwell obviously finishing off at Ibrox, really pleased for him to get his goal, and he was fantastic on the day. And I think it just maybe tailed off towards the end of the first half, where we just lost our way. We just let St Mirren into the game for the last 5 minutes. They were putting crosses into the box, they were getting onto second balls, and we just weren't dealing with it enough. And I remember rightly Michael Beale saying at his press conference after the game that he was raging with the defensive display, rightly so, because it was poor. Great finish for Marco Hara, right enough, but I thought the first half was kind of typical Rangers, like just shooting yourself in the foot after maybe doing a lot of good work on the ball, and then obviously to come out second half and sort of blow them away after them pulling back level was nice to see. And the flurry of goals at the end was much deserved, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it was a strange beginning. Obviously, I mean, weird for the fact that Tav missed a penalty. I mean, I think most of us had that down as 1-0 straight away. And I think I'd even started to type 1-0 on my banner to go up on my live stream at that point, because you kind of just expect him to score. Obviously, yeah, I agree. Cantwell, fantastic, but fantastic, and the front six did do very well indeed. And second half, we came out and we seemed to go well at the start of that second half. Then they came back in, and then Beale makes the subs, and we go again and literally just blow them away off the park. And yeah, it was very Michael Beale, wasn't it? Kind of a stop, start kind of game again. I think obviously that's something that will change over time once he gets his own players. And now, one of the things obviously we touched on there is, and you touched on there, was the defence. Going back even to the Old Firm game and obviously this game on Saturday, some of the defending is, well, it's comic cuts defending at times, isn't it? It is just absolutely shocking. I mean, what do you make of the general standard of defending at the moment? And is it because we are missing Connor Goldson, despite what his critics may say?
I think absolutely it's because we're missing Connor Goldson. I think it shows when he's out the team how massive he is for everybody in terms of the mentality, in terms of his ball playing for the back, in terms of his organisation as well, in terms of the whole team. And I think truly he is the guy who is the most vocal on the pitch. And when you lose a guy with that experience and that input into the game, I think the team struggle, especially with John Souttar and, as the comment says, Goldson is definitely the backbone of the team. John Souttar and Davies have played together maybe 2-3 games at most. Obviously started the last two. Poor defensive displays in that point. And you're maybe looking, definitely Goldson as the rock that kind of holds everyone together. Unfortunate for Davies though, because I feel again he's done well. He's been consistent with these past couple of games. I think he's really, don't know if he's shown himself out or whatever, but he's put in some poor performances. Maybe not got that leadership that Goldson's got there to sort of manage with Souttar. But I guess the more games they both of them play together, the more they sort of know each other as a pairing. They'll get better because nobody really knows the longevity of Connor Goldson's injury. Hopefully he'll be back in the next week or so, but those two need to try and play together as much as possible. Obviously, you've got Leon King still there, as well as a backup if needed. John Lundstrom can obviously slot in, but I think in terms of the 2 goals as well, it's just you want somebody to just step up and clear the ball for the first one. Just get the ball, get it under control, and start moving up the pitch again. But it's just really poor goal to lose. It was a great finish, like nothing away for obviously the finish for Mark O'Hara, but I think it was just everything around the goal was so poor. And then the equaliser was shocking. Just I think there was 3 players going for the same ball at one time, and it just it was a calamity of errors.
I mean, that first goal, I mean, there was opportunity obviously to close the ball down at source from, I don't know who the boy was, I don't know who the lad who was putting the ball into the box. Raskin was a bit slow out to him there. But I don't know about for you, Jack, but for me, one of the things that kind of, as a fan watching, was just watching Lundstrom. I mean, O'Hara's finish was fantastic. It was a great finish. I mean, well done, St Mirren, great goal. And it was actually refreshing to see a team come and try and play football at Ibrox rather than just sit 10 men behind the ball and play for a 1-0 loss. But Lundstrom and Tillman, on that first goal, I don't know what your take is on that, Jack, but they just seem to stand there and watch O'Hara and admire him and kind of look, he's got the ball. Oh, that was a lovely goal, wasn't it? Neither of them seemed to be overly bothered about going for the ball. This didn't seem to be that commitment to get stuck in there. I don't know what your take was on Lundstrom and Tillman's role in that first goal.
Again, it's just, I think, similar to a lot of the goals we lose, I don't think they're ever down to pure, absolute class for the other team. I think it's more just a case of us not being competent in what we're doing on the pitch. As you say, caught ball watching. Tillman's been kind of suspect of that so far in this time. I absolutely adore him as a player. I think he's really good, and we should go and make that permanent signing in the summer. But I think in terms of his defensive display, obviously he's an attacking player. You're not expecting him to be the best ever defender, but I think he needs to be a bit more urgent in his playing. I think John Lundstrom's been caught cold a lot this season as well, so it doesn't really surprise me it's the 2 of them in form of that goal. But I definitely have to be doing better. Obviously, a great finish, but it's everything around the goal. It's really poor for our point of view.
I mean, there's been a lot of talk this week in the media and on other podcasts about the whole defensive display, and obviously, Goldson has been held up as one of the big reasons, which I really agree with. I mean, I know people criticise Goldson. I know there's been critics and people call him out and everything, but for me, Goldson, he's the organizer back there. He's the leader back there. Rangers have kept 13 clean sheets this season, 12 of which have come when Goldson's been playing. I think, which kind of tells you the whole story that he's the main man back there, and Davis, for me, hasn't looked anywhere near as comfortable as he has in previous games because he hasn't got Goldson alongside him there. And I think when the onus is falling on him, that's not really what type of player Davis is. And I think he's struggling with that. And I think that's perhaps why his form may have dropped off. Now, one of the other reasons people have talked about for the defensive problems has been sort of Alan McGregor and the fading of the Alan McGregor legend a little bit. I mean, I feel like a heretic saying this because Alan McGregor is one of the greatest goalkeepers we've ever had at the club. But do you think the fact that, he no longer will come for the ball, he's a bit slow coming out now, his reflexes have dropped off a little bit, is that impacting the confidence of the defence?
I think if you date all the way back to last season, I think it was impacting the defence, to be honest with you, because the majority of the goals we were losing, crosses into the box that he wasn't coming for. and we ended up getting punished for them. I think that's sort of spiralled into this season. I don't think a lot of people saw McGregor still being here. Obviously, the way the Scottish Cup final ended, everybody was like, right, that's it. Good way to leave the club on a high, but obviously continues to stay at the club, and he's obviously worked his way back to being number one this season. I think he's been good. Of course, you can't doubt him as a goalkeeper, but I think, as you say, I think he is sort of fading. And I don't think he gives the defence as much confidence as he once did in the past, to be quite honest with you. And that's a position in the summer definitely I'd be looking at strengthening right away.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's obviously a lot of talk about who we might bring in and who we might replace him with, but I think that is definitely a need. And there's been a few goals this season, and as you say, last season, but where I've actually sat there and just thought, he comes for that, cut it out. It's no, there's no goal there. The second goal against Motherwell, he drops on that ball, it kills it at source, and I think it is time for him to ride on off into the sunset, and hopefully we can send him off with another Cup Winners' medal at the end of this season. Now, obviously, there's a lot of talk in the live chat about a certain individual who's been, let's say, criticised, shall we say, because of his transfer fee, and is reported. I mean, we don't know what Rangers players individually get paid, so the talk of him getting 28 grand a week, I don't think it is 100% true, because we don't actually know. But there's a few people asking about Rabbi Matondo. Now, Matondo came in on Saturday for 20 minutes. He had that assist for Alfie's second goal, which he held his line, and his speed and his setup play was absolutely fantastic there. Nicholas Moore asking, would you start Matondo for our remaining games? CMAC said, I would start him at the weekend 100%. Rabbi Matondo, Jack, I mean, like I said, he's had an awful lot of criticism this season. Perhaps unfairly, because he hasn't had a chance to play, but would you give Rabbi at least the league games now?
I think so, definitely. I think he came on and he made a huge impact. Where I sit at Ibrox is near enough at the dugout, and I seen Michael Beale giving him instructions. He maybe wasn't following out the game plan straight away when he came on, but Michael Beale was giving him instructions to maybe hold his line, get closer to the byline so he could beat players, and it worked. He done himself justice. He got the assist for Morelos, and he looked comfortable in the ball. And I think that's all Rabbi Matondo needs, really, is runs of games, maybe not starting games straight away, but games where he can come on and play half an hour, 20 minutes and make an impact, because he's got obviously lightning pace. Last season at Cercle Bruges, he had, I think, 11 goals in the league, so he's not shy scoring a goal. I think he's all about confidence, and I think Rangers fans have maybe kind of similar to Amad Diallo last season, kind of just disregarded him straight away. And I think in a problem position for us as well, apart from Ryan Kent, really, we've not got many wingers that are actually good enough. Scott Wright's obviously had flashes, and Fashion Sakala, you could say, he's hit and miss. Obviously scores plenty of goals, but I like Rabbi Matondo. I was buzzing for him at the weekend to come on and get an assist, and see how much that meant to him and Michael Beale, obviously, for trusting him to come on. And I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing him get more of an opportunity. Sunday's obviously a huge game. Aberdeen playing really good football as well. They're looking to secure into third spot for the rest of the season. So it'll make him on Sunday. I think this is the game that you can see what's actually there with Matondo and his mentality if you start him away at Aberdeen.
I mean, says Nicholas Moore says here in the live chat, Matondo's had loads of stick, but I've always backed him as I know what the lad can do. I've seen him play for Wales, and he is a quality player. I mean, yeah, you don't get to play international football, you don't get to play for Schalke and Cercle Bruges and play in Europe if you're not a decent player. And I think that's perhaps we do need to give him a fair crack at the whip. Now, obviously, people have been debating whether we should play him in the semi. I mean, do you think that's a too big a game for him, and just to play us on the bench, or would you actually risk Matondo just to kind of throw that curveball in against them to give them something different to think about?
Again, it could be a huge curveball. I don't think a lot of people, going back to the last Old Firm game, would have thought Rabbi Matondo would have been in contention for the biggest game of the season left. So it would be a huge curveball. I think he's a really good option to have, especially if we give him minutes against Aberdeen, if he gets more confidence in his game, because I feel like that's the kind of player he really is. He's a confidence player. He'll thrive off just even making passes, even creating chances and stuff like that. So I think that'll be big for him. I don't think I would start him in the semi personally. For me, I think I would go with the last dance, if you say, for Ryan Kent, Morelos and stuff like that, your bigger players, to try and get that one over the line. But by all means, he's definitely an option if he continues to make the impact that he did at the weekend. I'm all for it, because as Nicholas said in that comment there, I've always stood by him as well. I think he said his critics, maybe unfairly, he's never really been given a huge crack at it. And I just want to see him flourish in a Rangers shirt. If he's obviously signed for the reported fee and we've got him on a 2-3 year contract, he's going to probably be here next season. So exactly, Kent's not really done much in terms of deserving that left wing spot anyway. So I think a bit of competition will do him well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, some people have already said, that Matondo did more in the 20 minutes he was on the pitch than Ryan Kent's done all season. Obviously, Ryan's come. I mean, just as a side note, before we talk about a couple of the other performances, Ryan's coming for an awful lot of stick this season for his performances, particularly that in the last Old Firm game, and obviously. I'm someone who has backed Ryan Kent. Look, I'm a fan of Ryan Kent. I remember what he was like in the 55 season, how he absolutely petrified them, terrified and tormented that a lot from the other side of the city. But I'm coming to the point now, Jack, where I'm struggling to defend him. I'm struggling to stand up for him and struggling to make an argument for him having a new deal. I mean, I don't know what your take is, Jack, but I think he's been poor. And do you think part of it is now that Kent's kind of resigned to the fact that he's off at the end of the season and he just, I know this is harsh to say, but just doesn't care?
I mean, if you look at his performance against Celtic, you could definitely come to that conclusion. Ryan Kent, for me, again, similar to yourself, I've loved him, I've adored him as a player. I think he's been a massive signing for us. The question mark over his head has always been, can you contribute more goals and more assists into the team? 55 league winning season, he was obviously fantastic. Last season in the run to the Europa League final, he was again fantastic on that stage, and you just wanted him to again translate that into league football, and he's struggled to always be consistent, and it's annoying because you see what's there. He's a fantastic player, and any team would obviously be lucky to have him, and I think he might just be sort of weighing up his options now and thinking, I'm gone. And obviously we don't know the extent of why he was out at the weekend, what the injury is or anything, but I think he'll probably be gone. Michael Beale's obviously played a huge part in his career thus far, right enough. So it'll be interesting to see if he can sort of pry him away and maybe get the best out of him. But I love Ryan Kent, but I think it'd probably be time to sort of let him go.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think it is time. I think it's better for both parties now if we part ways and he heads off to wherever he's going. I mean, there's been talk of him going to Burnley. There's some cheeky talk of him perhaps going to Forest and following his mate Ross Wilson. Maybe, I don't know about that, but so yeah, I mean, Kent has been poor, and I think Kent will start in the semi-final. I think he is one of Michael Beale's favourites. I think he will get an opportunity to show that off. But one of the players, I mean, the player that stood out for me and has stood out for me, I think, since he arrived in January, but I thought Saturday was absolutely outstanding, was Todd Cantwell. I mean, 91% pass accuracy, 75% dribble completion, 1 goal, 2 assists. That's 3 goal contributions. That beautiful no-look pass. Ronaldinho-esque, I think some people called it earlier in the week, and then that fantastic griddy dance as well for his first goal, which I know has wound some people up. But Cantwell, I mean, is that the recipe for beating Celtic? Giving Cantwell more of that free roll and getting more of what we saw on Saturday?
100%. I think Todd Cantwell in the last Old Firm game was kind of maybe pushed out a bit too wide and never influenced the game as much as you would like it, maybe because you're obviously trying to accommodate him and Tillman into the same sort of system. One of them will have to go out there and do that work. And I think it suits Cantwell much more, being in the middle, being the centre of attention, being the guy who can bring the play together, and he can also do the tracking back as well. And he definitely made his mark on Saturday. I think probably his best game in blue so far, to be quite honest with you. He's goal at Ibrox, of course, and 2 assists. He's contributing to goals, and I know Cantwell's never really been one of those guys when his time in Norwich that's not really always scored plenty of goals, but to see him obviously come up here so far, get 2, and hopefully he can build on it for the rest of the season and be a big player in the semi-final. 100%, I think he'll be key. Everything sort of has to run through him. Nicholas Raskin in midfield. Those players have so much energy in the middle of the park that they can match the best of the teams in the league. So I was really impressed with Todd Cantwell, and I just hope he keeps kicking on and going for more.
Yeah, I mean, Cantwell for me was just outstanding, absolutely outstanding. And one of the things that always impresses me about Todd is the fact that he never stops trying to the, even I think it was in about the 90th or 92nd minute, he was chasing back like his life depended on it. And he chased the guy down the sideline and got the ball back. And he's also got a bit of the devil about him, hasn't he? I mean, there was that incident in the Dundee United game when he got in, I can't remember the guy's name, but he got in that player's face.
Yeah.
He got a little bit in McGregor's face in the Old Firm game. I like that, the fact he's got that little bit of an edge to him.
Yeah, he's definitely got that, which I never thought he did for his time in Norwich. If you seen him at the Premier League, I thought he was one of these sort of flair players and never really dug in and really fought for the game. But he's come up here, he's been a revelation, he's really done well, and I think he's maybe surprised a lot of fans that weren't expecting Todd Cantwell to be the way he is in the player he is. And I think it's benefited him as well, being sort of played predominantly in the middle of the park. We've seen him being given a different role. He was at Norwich, and he's much more influential in the middle of the park. And obviously for the fee we've signed him for, reportedly I think it was about $1.5 million for the player of that quality. I think it's been great business so far, and if we're to be successful at the end of this season and the next season, he's going to be a huge part of it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think it's a case now of building a team around the likes of him and Nicholas Raskin. They've been, have just been different class since they've come into the team. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, Nicholas Moore says in the live chat, Cantwell and Raskin are standout players, 100%. Absolutely. Ryan Scotsman says, has Nick at Victoria trans? No, unfortunately, she was meant to be here trying Scotsman, but she's been called into work. She is on she gets called in every so often, even though she's free, has 3 days. She does get called in by work, as we all do. We all have a job to do. And unfortunately, obviously, this, as much as we would love YouTube to pay the bills, it doesn't pay the bills. And we all have to have a normal job at the end of the day. One question though, Jack, is, have you been practicing and can you do the griddy now?
I can absolutely do the griddy. If it's not on FIFA, doing the celebration, I'm watching Todd Cantwell do it at Ibrox, so I am well versed on the griddy now.
Yeah, I have challenged Victoria to do the griddy on one of our videos soon, so we'll see what happens.
I look forward to that one.
I sent her a tutorial of it, so we're both going to practice it and try and do it, I think. I have actually seen, I've seen it on FIFA, and I've also seen it in the. I do a lot of American sports as well, and I've seen it in the NFL. It's one of the big things. The NFL got the celebrations; it's massive in the NFL. One last point in terms of the performances from the weekend. Obviously, Alfie got 2 goals, and again we had the interesting celebration of this thing. What was your take on Alfie's performance on Saturday?
I think he sort of came to life in the second half. A lot of our games at home, in the league specifically, first halves are really slow to watch. I feel that way with Michael Beale's teams. But obviously, second half, grabs themselves 2 goals. He's in the right place at the right time. You want him to be there. You want him to continue scoring goals and playing with a smile on his face. And it was nice to see him obviously get another 2 to his collection for Rangers. And I think he's just a player. It's going to be so hard if at the end of the season he has to go and move on after all the joy he's obviously brung us over the years. I thought he was good, but I think he still needs to go up a level to get back to where he was his best. Probably 2019 was the season of him. Every game you could rely on him to bully defences and score and be that guy for you. So I think, although he's obviously been scoring goals, I think I maybe need a bit more for Morelos still. He kind of did show a bit of his old self, actually, Nicholas. He was a bit more like himself, getting 2 goals, and obviously with the celebration with the shush, it was typical. Obviously, Alfredo.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's always got that little bit of an edge to him, hasn't he? I know it wound certain fans up. I mean, I was on Gallant on Few on Sunday, and I know Mark Currymuncher was a bit upset, shall we say, with that celebration, saying he shouldn't be shushing his own fans. I think it wasn't really aimed at the fans. I think it was aimed at other people. I think more than the fans. Obviously, given all the speculation and all the comments that are made around Alfie a lot of the time, but Alfie, in terms of Alfie next season, I think I honestly think he's gone. I think he is going to move on, and like you said, I think it is obviously going to be a big, huge thing to replace Alfie. And just last thing on Alfie, do you think would you start him in the semi? Does he have to play in that semi?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think for himself and for all the sort of beatings he's went through in his time here with Celtic. I don't think he's ever done as well as he could do. 3 goals in all his Old Firm games is a poor return, but for a last go at it, for a last time to get us to a final and drag us there, he's done it so many times against other teams. I think it only makes sense to play him. Cholak, I've still got the jury out on him if he can really go and play in these big games. But Morelos for me is always going to be the guy until obviously he might not be here at the end of the season. But I definitely for the semi, I think it will be sort of tried and tested. It'll be Kent and Morelos. He'll have to start definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've probably got to go in with Alfie because I think, you've got to go in with the front man up there. And like you, Jack, I'm a bit jury's out on Cholak. I think, he does it against the lower teams very well. But I don't know about you, but to me, he just doesn't seem like a Michael Beale player. I don't think he fits Beale's system. I don't think Beale really knows what to do with him. And I think obviously there's been an awful lot of talk linking us to the likes of Pirot from Swansea and Madja from Bordeaux, who I've actually seen play and is a very good player. But he doesn't seem like a Beale player to me. And I think, obviously the other thing about Alfie as well is he gets under their skin, doesn't he? He winds them up somewhat chronic. So, he's got, for me, he's got to play in that semi. Before we come on to the Aberdeen question, a question from the live chat here, and obviously I've given my opinion on this on previous podcasts and previous videos that I've done. But C-Max asks, what out of contract players should get a new deal? For me, Ryan Jack, maybe Arfield at a push. And I know Nicholas is agreeing with him here. Jack and Arfield, definitely new contracts for me. So, Jack, in your opinion, who would you give new contracts to out of those? Let's disregard Tillman for a minute because I think we both want Tillman to stay. But out of the other 8 players that are out of contract, who would you give contracts to?
Well, if I can remember them off the top of my head, Helander is probably he's away. Borna Barisic, I think, is coming to the end of his contract. I don't think he's actually out of contract in the summer. So I think there's been rumours of him maybe leaving, but I'd probably keep him. Arfield, I've never
Helander,
been.
Yeah, you got Helander.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on, Arfield, yeah, sorry.
Arfield, I'm not a huge fan of him. Personally, I think he can be replaced now. And I think we can do better and sort of improve as a club. We're getting better talent in there, and I think he's obviously been a good servant for the club and obviously scored another goal at the weekend, but I'd be looking to replace Arfield. Ryan Jack probably is... I feel hard not seeing Kent or Morelos, but I think Ryan Jack is probably the one I'm looking at, thinking he can still do a job. He's been probably our most consistent midfielder inside with Nicholas Raskin. So I think definitely Ryan Jack for another season makes sense. I mean, if Kent Morelos want to sign, albeit 100%, and then we can get a fee for them. But I think realistically looking at it, Ryan Jack for me would be the only one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Ryan Jack's obviously one that I think he comes when he's fit, and I think even if we can just get 20 to 25 games out of him next season, and it's very unlikely you'll ever get a full season out of Ryan Jack given his fitness record. But even that, I think, is good enough for a player like Jack, because I think what you do is you ration his games. You only use him in the games that matter, so the Celtic games, going up to Pittodrie, going to Tynecastle, going to Easter Road, those tougher games. That's when you use him. In Europe, obviously, hopefully we'll negotiate the 2 rounds and get into the Champions League group stages. Although there was some very interesting news on that today, that apparently if we do get into the Champions League group stages, we would be in pot 3 and Celtic would be in pot 4 because our coefficient is higher than theirs because of our Europa League run. So something else to wind them up, Jack.
Yeah, definitely, I know.
Point in the live chat here says Borna Barisic, Lundstrom and Roof are all going into last year in the summer. They need to go or they will leave for nothing because they ain't getting new deals. I mean, like you said, Borna Barisic, Lundstrom. I mean, personally, I do not rate Lundstrom in the slightest. I think he had that good run in the Europa League, but his second touch is a tackle, isn't it? I mean, it's awful at times. And Kamar Roof is probably the best striker at the club, but I mean, the lad gets a grass stain and he has to have a lie down for a month. I mean, where would you stand on those 3, Jack?
I think Borna Barisic has been probably our most consistent defender under Michael Beale so far, which is annoying because I've kind of looked for Rid van Yilmaz to get a chance in that position. But you can't fault Barisic so far. I think he'll probably go into his last year and he'll still be at the club. But I think again, getting fees for these guys is key to sort of keep building and obviously getting funds in to get players in. Lundstrom, 100% agree with you. I think he's shocking. I think he has been shocking all season. As you say, he had that run between the Europa League final, the end of the season and stuff, and he was fantastic. But I think he's been really poor this season. And the other one was Kemar Roof. Kemar Roof, as you say, is fantastic. He's a really good goal scorer. He does a lot of hard work for the team, but I mean, we've got 3 or 4 games out of them this season at most. It's poor. But I think if he's still got another year left, I don't really know who's going to go and take a punt on him. So maybe he will stick around.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think obviously moving those guys on is going to be difficult. I mean, Borna, I could see us getting a fee for Borna. I mean, he is still a decent left back. Lundstrom, you probably could ship him to the Championship or something and get a minimum amount for him. As for Kemar Roof, I mean, short of selling him to medical science, I honestly don't know who'd want to buy Kemar Roof.
I know.
I mean, would you want a player that like literally has, I don't know how many? I don't think I can't actually remember him completing 45 minutes this season, if I'm being honest with you. So he's been poor. He's been poor, and I think that injury has just been a curse. Just a quick look at the live chat. CGM says a midfield 3 of Raskin, Lawrence, and Cantwell would be really good to see. C-Mac says Barisic has played okay recently, but I'd like to see Ridvan more than Barisic. It's one of our serial losers. And before we move on, Nicholas says Lundstrom has been a great player for us, but his form has completely dropped for whatever reason. Sad to see, as I like the lad. I mean, obviously Tom Lawrence is someone they pick out there. I mean, Lawrence is going to be like a new signing when he comes back like next season, isn't he? And he certainly impressed in the limited time that he did actually play.
Yeah, I thought I'm a really big fan of Tom Lawrence, especially in the start of that season. It was a different option to what we'd been used to in the midfield, and he was breaking lines, he was getting forward, he was scoring goals, he was getting assists, and it was just really unfortunate for him his season to end the way it is because he started the season on fire. And as you say, it would be really nice to see Raskin, Cantwell, Lawrence, a really forward-thinking, attacking midfield to go on and play next season, and even an option out left as well as Tom Lawrence. He's got that in him as well. If we're to lose Ryan Kent, sorry. But I really unfortunate not to see more of Tom Lawrence in a Rangers shirt, to be honest with you, because I was really impressed with him.
Oh yeah, I mean, Lawrence definitely is someone who's really impressed me. His ability to get forward, his shooting ability, he is an all-round midfielder, but I think he will be like a new signing and a real quality addition to that midfield. And I think a midfield of, like CGM 55 says, of Raskin, Lawrence, and Cantwell will be a midfield capable of controlling games and running games, especially against that lot from the other side of the city. So definitely, point here in the live chat, JD says the injuries in general this season have been shocking, just the sheer amount. We clearly need to do something about the medical team we have. Didn't find Offerbo's heart condition until he signed. I mean, I know the medical guys have got a lot of criticism, but I think some of the injuries have been, I think, partly due to the lack of fitness work that Gio did at the start of the season as well. I think that's kind of contributed to this awful run of injuries. I don't know what your opinion is on that, Jack, but I don't think it's helped.
Nah, I think a lot of the players looked unfit at the start of the season. As you say, I don't think Gio was big on doing a lot of that kind of work at the start of the year, and it probably did contribute to a lot of the players breaking down early. But I definitely hit the medical team as well. Like, I mean, you've got players that nobody even really knows what's happening with Hollander anymore. Like, it's just kind of just let him go kind of thing. Never really had an update on him, and never really looked like he was ever going to come back. I think how unfit the team has been poor, and the medical issues definitely need to be improved. Although, as you say, need to give the medical team some leeway for obviously the way we started the season under Gio.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Gio in his first part season in charge, I think worked on the back of the fitness that Gerrard had got into the players at the start of the season. I mean, Gerrard had them sort of super fit, didn't he? And I think he kind of got the advantage of that for the Europa League run. And then I think obviously his ethos was everything with the ball, do everything with the ball, not run the guys. So yeah, I think that has sort of contributed to that. Although I did read on another podcast quite a funny joke saying, "Do our medical team apply bandages with a nail gun?" I mean, that's.
I mean, it's a valid point to make, to be quite fair.
I know. I mean, Lawrence, when he first got injured, was going to be out for a couple of weeks, and that was it. Then he was gone for the whole rest of the season, wasn't he? So you kind of wonder how his condition was so mismanaged or not picked up.
Yeah.
But But obviously, moving on. Obviously, Aberdeen this weekend Sunday. I mean, we all know that Aberdeen hate us with a passion, as most teams in the SPL hate us with a passion. And it was nice to see Nicholas Raskin picking up on that during the week, saying that no one likes us, we don't care, which I think he's kind of buying into that ethos. I mean, what do you see this Aberdeen game? I think it's going to be tougher than a lot of people think it's going to be. Going up to Pittodrie. Robson, their manager's got them playing some decent football. Like you said at the start, they're going for the European place. I mean, what type of game do you foresee at the weekend?
I think it's just going to be as tough as it is always up there, regardless of what Aberdeen team you're playing. If it's a poor Jim Goodwin team, they obviously gave us a really good game under Michael Beale at the very start of his tenure, and games at home have been more sort of straightforward. But I think definitely going up there, if 4:30 kick-off Sunday, Aberdeen fans will be buzzing for it. They'll be looking to secure their place in and get as far ahead of Hearts and whoever else as possible. So I think it'll be a really tough game. Aberdeen, I don't think have conceded too many goals in the last few games. They've been on a win and run. They've really stamped their authority and came out of nowhere and made that third position their own so far. So I think it'll be a really tough game. Ross McCrory, obviously, former Rangers man, playing well. Duke, who's is a fantastic striker as well, scoring goals for fun. Miofsky's caused us problems when we went up there in the semi-final as well. So they've got a good squad of players. I think they're a really tough team. And I think it will be probably our hardest game probably we've got left.
I mean, good preparation for the semi-final, obviously, to get us obviously in that top form. But you mentioned there that Duke or whatever he's called, Luis Lopez, the guy they got from Benfica. Is he someone you'd like to see Rangers take an interest in?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's a fantastic talent. I think a lot of people screw their nose up at players that come and play in your own league and perform well, and we should be looking at other leagues and whatever. But I think we've got a guy staring us down who is physical. He can play off the left. He can dominate as a striker. He's scoring goals, and I think he's a really, really promising talent, especially his age, 22, coming through Benfica Youth Academy. Cape Verde, he's playing over there in the national team as well. He's attracting interest from everywhere, and I think he would be a really good replacement for a guy like Morelos, to be quite honest with you. I see a lot of kind of similarities in Duke that I do in Morelos. He's got that fire in him, he's got the physicality, the pace, and I think he'd be a really good option if we could get him in the summer. I think he's definitely a guy I'd be looking at. I've been really, really impressed with him.
Yeah, I mean, he looks a decent striker. He's done it. He's shown he can do it in the SPL, and he's done it against them as well. And he is a quality. Looks a quality player. And I think now you've said it, Jack. Actually, I can see similarities between him and Morelos. He does seem to have that little bit of the devil about him, which is kind of like what we like at Rangers. Those odd players with a bit of the devil in them, and it's worth taking a look. But I think obviously a lot depends on how much Aberdeen will want for him. And I think, with it being Rangers, do you think they're going to perhaps charge a premium and try and have our eyes out rather than obviously be more realistic with their pricing strategy?
Yeah, I think that's always the case when you deal with anybody for Scotland. It's like they'll try and rip Rangers and Celtic off at the same time, regardless of the player and the fee for them. But I think Duke is definitely worth the money to gamble. I think he's a really, really strong talent. I think he's still young, but it's again, you're looking at doing business with Aberdeen. It's going to be tough. He's gained interest for the Premier League as well, so it's going to be hard to sort of sway him. Obviously up to here, but I'd be definitely putting bids in for him in the summer and sort of maybe unsettling him a wee bit, knowing obviously we're interested and seeing how it goes. But obviously there's plenty of talent out there that we've hopefully been scouting, and I hope Duke is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I hope they've been looking at him. And like you said, there is Premier League interest in him, reportedly from Burnley. I saw a link today with him. I think it was another Premier League team, but I can't remember which team it was now. It might have even been Leeds, maybe. I think if they stay up. And obviously that's the problem is once you get the EPL teams coming and they've got there's so much money, it doesn't really, they can kind of put stupid bids in and they don't care if they lose out on players due to the ridiculous amount of money they have. Obviously, as Paul McGarrigle says in the live chat here, he says, see, they appealed Shinny sending off, they will lose money for that. So Hatchet Man will be missing on Sunday. So that's going to be a bonus for Rangers. Going into this game, Jack, would you play the strongest team or would you rest people ahead of the semi-final?
I'm thinking of just playing the strongest team we can at the moment. Definitely with the semi-final coming up, I'd be looking at giving everybody possible minutes. But I think starting the game, I definitely want to probably start with as close to the team that will start in the semi-final as possible. Hopefully we get players back, because obviously it was a hard podcast to watch with Michael Beale on his press conference last week, basically talking about 9 players out injured or something like that. So hopefully we get as much of them back as possible. The bench was looking a bit bare at the weekend, but I'd be starting as strong as teams I could. Definitely going to Aberdeen, as you say, they'll be up for it and they'll be wanting to beat us. So as long as we can keep winning and giving players minutes, I'm happy with that.
Absolutely, yeah. I think even if you start the game with your strongest 11, and you play the likes of Cantwell, Tillman, Raskin, Jack if he's fit, etc., and then hopefully we can get a couple of goals up, and you start to bring those guys off and bring on the likes of. Kamar wasn't that bad at the weekend. Matondo, those guys can come on and take over. I mean, that's got to be the way forward. I always think there's a risk when you rest players ahead of big games as well, that you kind of take a bit of their battle hardness away from them, that they're not in a run going into that absolutely vital game next Sunday. So yeah, definitely, yeah. Blue Nose John in the live chat says, "Where in the Midlands do you come from, Owen? My favourite English team is Nottingham Forest." Blue Nose John, I actually live in a place called Nuneaton. It's near Coventry. Although I don't support any of the Midlands teams. I don't like any of the Midlands teams. I hate Coventry City with a passion, which is the closest team to me. The English team I follow is Sunderland. I'm a Rangers fan primarily, though. But no, I do follow Sunderland. That's where I was born. But I've been a Rangers fan since '87. So since the days of Souness. But yeah, that's where I'm from, Blue Nose John, in the Midlands. Paul McGarrigle says, "Just take it game by game. The semi will take care of itself." Nicholas Moore says, "Hope we don't do any business with the sheep, as they always overcharge us for players." Blue Nose John says, "Warwickshire, yeah, I live in Warwickshire, mate." Yeah. CGM 55 raises an interesting question. Do we go 3 at the back if Goldson's fit? Is that something you'd like to see us experiment with ahead of the semi-final?
Well, I think Michael Beale sort of sprinkled that into the indie games, especially at home as well. I've noticed them putting Scott Wright at right wing back. Last game, he kind of put Rabbi Matondo over there as well. So I think he's maybe trying to experiment a wee bit with doing something like that. And I think it just suits us better as a team. I just think the way we would want to playing a 3-5-2, a 3-4-3 or something like that would definitely suit the way we want to play. And I think it'd make us more secure at the back. Definitely for going into Aberdeen and the Celtic semi-final, I think being as secure at the back as you possibly can be was obviously going to be massive. And I think Davies, Suter and Goldson would make a really good pairing as a 3. And then obviously you've got the wing backs who can then go and bomb up the pitches they like to do and make their impact that way. And I think it would give us the balance in terms of going back and forward. So definitely I'd like to see that, but I think we'll probably next season, if Michael Beale really wants to go and play that formation, it will probably start in pre-season.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's a possibility, a strong possibility. The way he's been talking, the fact he's been talking about bringing in an extra central defender. I think was it Jonathan Panzo was linked with Rangers just recently, and he has talked about that 3 at the back system quite a lot this year. So yeah, I agree. It's something perhaps to try, obviously for the next season, rather than going to. I wouldn't be risking it in a semi-final against Celtic when you haven't played it for any length of time. It's not something you want to do. Definitely not. CGM says the Ross Stewart chat has kind of disappeared now. I think about Sunderland. I think that was obviously Ross Stewart to Rangers. There was talk of that, wasn't there, in January? But I know he's been out since January, ripped Achilles tendon. So I really wouldn't be putting a bid in for him now, because you don't know what player you're going to get back after an injury like that. This game of the weekend against Aberdeen. Jack, have you got a prediction? What's your prediction for the game?
My prediction for the game in terms of scoreline, I would like to see us go there and win convincingly. I think it's been a while since we've had the luxury to go and do that. As we say, it's always a tough game up there. They always sort of put 110% into the game to go and beat us. But I'd like to see us hopefully keep a clean sheet at the most. I think that would obviously benefit us going into the game and give us confidence in a defensive standpoint. But I think my prediction probably 2-0 to Rangers. I think we'd get nice to get an early goal and then sort of seal it up, maybe 60-minute mark, and as you say, you can start rotating the squad and giving other players minutes. That would be the ideal situation, but as with Rangers, it never really goes to the ideal way, does it?
It never does it? My prediction, I'm going to go 3-1. I think they will score, just given the fact that our defence is just awful. I think we will give them an opportunity, and I think that Duke will get his goal, because I just think he'll get the opportunity to score. Paul McGarrigle in the live chat says 2-0, the famous hard-fought game. We've got other predictions coming through as well. I think, it's going to be a tough game, obviously. So we've got the Trying Scotsman says 4-1 Raskin. Obviously to score, I presume he means 4-1 to us. I hope he means 4-1 to us. Aberdeen 2, Rangers 4. And like Nicholas Moore just re-emphasised what we've all been saying all night. We've missed Goldson despite what a lot of fans would say. I mean, obviously, the final thing to sort of to finish off with, Jack, next Sunday, not this Sunday, obviously next Sunday is the big one, isn't it? Everything comes down to that one game, doesn't it? And do you think, given what we saw at Parkhead, given what we've seen all season, can this Rangers team go out and beat them? That's the question I think a lot of people want to know.
Of course, as Rangers, you have to have that belief that you can go and beat Celtic. There's no point in even playing for Rangers if you've not got that belief. So I think that will definitely give us confidence. The last performance, I think we went toe to toe, and we were just really unfortunate that the defence made as many mistakes as it did to sort of cost us that game, because I thought we were right in it. We maybe had the best spells of play as well at times. So I think going into that game, and I think it will maybe benefit us as well, going in again as probably the underdog. And Celtic might just think, we'll show up and we'll win. That could play in our favour as well. So I think the team will gain confidence definitely for the performance on Saturday as well, and just every game as it comes, but definitely against the Celtic in the last game. I think they'll take a huge deal of confidence, especially the players that played. I think Raskin obviously had a really standout performance, and Borna Barisic was very good. So it'll be interesting to see this game happen. Obviously, in a couple of weeks, obviously Aberdeen's the first one to deal with, but you hope you get through that one unscathed, and you can really start thinking about getting your best team out there for the semi.
Absolutely, yeah, 100% agree. I mean, I think the fact that, to be honest with you, we gave them that last game. We gave those two mistakes, handed them the game. Obviously, not helped by the VAR decision as well, but it was a game that we could have easily won. And I think this team are closing the gap, and I think they are more than capable of going toe to toe and beating, especially if Cantwell, Raskin, and Tillman really show up to the party on Sunday. I think this is a team more than capable of beating Celtic. I mean, I heard that when Nicholas Raskin went into the changing room, emptied his pockets, his car keys came out, his mobile phone came out, and then Callum McGregor fell out as well of his pocket. So he did seem to own Callum McGregor to some degree. Definitely on that. So yeah, there is more. We are more than capable of beating them. So it's just last few points. God help what ref we get against the Sheep. Yeah. And also, again, what referee we get in the semi-final as well. Hopefully it's not Clancy again. It'll be interesting to see who is fit to face Aberdeen. But yeah, guys, thank you so much to everyone who has joined us tonight for this podcast. It's been fantastic talking all things Rangers with Jack and with you guys in the live chat. It's why we do this. Like I said, we are trying to build a fan community here at Glasgow Rangers Nation. We try to, obviously, as we say, bring you your team every single day. If you haven't yet, please hit that sub, ring that notification bell, set it to all so you get all our daily content and our podcast when we go live. Jack, just remind us where we can find you and where we can get more of your work.
Yeah, you can get us over on YouTube at Every Other Saturday Podcast. On Twitter, again, predominantly where we post a lot of our content at Every Other Satu 1. And on Instagram at Every Other Sat Pod as well. We post all new episodes when they go live over there. And if you could give us a follow and a subscribe on YouTube, very, very much appreciated. And then we'll get as much content going as we possibly can.
Absolutely. So yeah, guys, definitely after this pod's finished, go over straight away. Put every other Saturday, pod it into the search on YouTube. Reminder that it looks like it's quickly bringing up on here. There we go. It looks like that. Every Other Saturday podcast. Put it into YouTube. Get over there. Hit that sub button for me, and obviously also on Twitter as well. Go and find. If you just type Every Other Saturday podcast, and it does come up straight away. Definitely go and do it. Go and hit the follow and follow Jack and Lewis on there. Well, guys, thank you so much for everything tonight. Been absolutely fantastic. We'll obviously keep your eyes open for Glasgow Rangers Nation content. We'll be continuing to push out content every single day in the build up to the Aberdeen game, as well as bringing you that live stream on Sunday of the Aberdeen game. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to Jack. It's been fantastic having you on here, Jack. Sure, hopefully we can work together again in the future.
Definitely.
So it'd be good to there. And as George says, hit the like button, troops. Absolutely, guys. Can only echo that. Well, guys, we'll be back soon to speak to you. Have a good rest of your night. And remember, we are the people.